To come together with this protest. Why is it that I wonder why is we had a protest, we had a meeting, we had people from the Socialist Party the other night. Now we have Mick and we have the Sinn Féin crowd, I think.
Yeah.
Why is
I deal with the
it
two things, right? Now, it's the same campaign, but we can't be everywhere at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So it's this meeting was organised under the campaign against household and water taxes, as was the meeting in Wexford, in Gorey, in Ferrycarrig, and all the other areas. The people who are calling for that, there are 9 TDs in that, independents and left-wingers. There are a number of Sinn Féin deputies who are saying they won't pay, but they're not involved in the campaign. They'd be welcome to, but that's their choice. But the campaign is much bigger than us, like.
I also think it's very important to emphasise that I think it's important that this is not led or run by politicians. The ordinary people, you've got to do it. And the best example I've seen of this has been Dermot Lacey, who came to the first meeting and he's gone around door to door to spread the message and to engage people and to let them know what's at stake and what's going on. You've got to organise yourselves in your own local communities. The notion that the politicians should be running it is, I don't agree with it, right? And politicians behave in certain ways, and most of them spend most of their time. You can accuse me doing the same if you like, but most of them spend most of the time trying to get re-elected. But you need to get control of this yourselves in your own area. You've got to get together as a people, and you've got to think about what's happening. You've got to ascertain for yourselves, are you being treated fair? And if you're not, then you've got to do something about it. And don't rely on politicians. As it turns out, as Claire said, of 166 TDs in it all, there's only 9 who've agreed to oppose it and to campaign on the basis of that. But you shouldn't even depend on those 9. You've got to depend on yourselves. You've expected too much, and you've got nothing from politicians. You think you go to them and you look for your favour and you get your little small favour and whatever, right? Listen, you want your country sorted, you want your own lives sorted, you want your own situation to be healthy, you want this to be a better country for your kids. Don't expect the politicians to bring you that. You've got to start doing that yourselves.
I just want to ask, what do we do with the bills when they come? Do we throw them in the bin, or do we write not paying and send them back?
You actually don't get a bill. There actually are no bills. They will give you a leaflet in February telling you to register. They don't send you a bill. They put the word out there that you have to register. So when you go down to your, when you won't, but if you were to go down to your council office and get one of these forms and fill it out and hand it in, or you go online with your computer and you fill it in, that's how you pay. You don't actually get a bill as such. It's a new system, and the reason why they're doing it is they want us to do all the work for them. Big Brother is watching nearly kind of stuff. All your personal data to be handed over. You do the work for them, and they get a new database for all the taxes. Just on this man had asked just previously on the new broadcasting tax, which may be in, and we should have mentioned the septic tanks issue. The campaign against the septic tanks is merged with the campaign against household and water taxes in a whole number of areas, arguing for non-registration and arguing for any works arising out of inspections to be covered as a public service, not a burden on the household, and so on, So, yes, and the new broadcasting. Sure.
Sorry there, Claire. What about the people who are already paying water charges, which are working in agriculture and all like that? We at home are already paying €400 because we were connected up as an agricultural water, and they turned around and told us to get it disconnected. It cost us €800, and to connect it back up to domestic, if we wanted it cost us another €800. And this is what's happening like in the council. And you're saying that they can't go through ESB and all like that. But if you've already got plan permission and all like that, they already have you registered then. They have you down to know who you are and where you are, like. So they're going to try and catch us that way, ain't they?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the arguments we made sort of in reverse with the septic tanks. Why are they asking people to register when they know they have all that information? But for them to process it in this way, it is a bit of work. They prefer you to give it to them.
Yeah, but the septic tanks don't stop at that. We're not an eagles. Like, I worked in construction, I'm unemployed at the minute, and I know what it's all about. They're going to get you on the VAT on the tanks, and then they're going to look for you, the VAT of the builder or whoever has to install it. So it just doesn't stop there. It's 10 or 11 or 12 grand like before you're even finished. Like, so like, I mean, the majority of the country people have tanks that are there for 40, 50 years maybe, and working perfect, but they turn around and tell us that they're not.
Yeah, just on the septic tanks issue, I mean, they were debating it all. I ran across the chamber at the end, and I got into an argument with Hogan. And I mean, obviously, like yourself, I've built plenty of septic tanks, and I'm afraid Minister Hogan hasn't built any just yet, and he doesn't know how to work either. And he hadn't a clue as to why. I was explaining to him why there was water untreated and reaching the water table without losing all its bacteria, because the soil that it was passing through wasn't good enough. And even when we introduced these raised beds and the drain around it in the last number of years, if we didn't import the proper soil, then it isn't working either.
Yeah, the bacteria just doesn't do its job. Like the old tanks, they're working perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean, what Hogan was refusing to acknowledge was that if they want to fix the septic tanks, if they want to stop water with bacteria in it reaching the water table, there's about over 200,000 tanks in the country that need to be rectified. But the people who put them in they didn't do anything wrong at the time. They were built according to regulation. They did what they were told. They got their plan of mission, and they were passed. And there's nothing for the government to turn around now. And I mean, I would agree that the water table needs to be cleaned up, but it isn't the ordinary people who should be paying for it. If they wanted change, then they're going to have to give grants to make it happen.
But the truth, Mick, is we're not paying to clean up the water. We're paying Troika. We're paying for this money that everybody else is. Yeah, well, this government the last government that caused in the back pockets of big time boys.
Yeah, well, if for example, if you had a septic tank and the bacteria wasn't being dealt with as it went through the percolation area, and it reaches the water table with bacteria in it, right? That isn't good for you or anyone living near you, right? So it is a good idea that that's fixed, right? But we shouldn't have to pay for it. The people who have septic tanks have them. They got permission to do what they did, and there was no issue with it. It wasn't done properly in a lot of cases. The rules have changed. The EPA have a different set of guidelines now. But, I mean, you can't say to someone who did what he was supposed to do at the time and it was acceptable at the time, and now say, oh, that's not acceptable anymore. Now you must pay 5,000 or 10,000 to fix it. I mean...
but it doesn't stop there, Mick, because you have the maintenance every year.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
And they're going to get the VAT out of that as well. It's all about, it's the vicious circle.
I know that.
It's the vicious circle,
yes,
it's not
and it's much the same thing as the household charge, right? And if you decide to give in on the household charge, then there's a better chance that they're going to catch you on the other ones that follow down the line as well. And whereas if the people decide to say, listen, we regard what you're doing as unfair, you're bailing out failed financial institutions that have nothing to do with you. They did nothing for you in the good times, and they're certainly not going to do anything for you in the bad times. The decision to bail out the banks was irrational, doesn't make any sense, and all it says is that banks and financial institutions and the markets are now calling the shots in Europe. They are telling the states what to do, the different governments, rather than vice versa. And that is a huge problem for everybody living in Europe. Everybody. You're better off if you didn't know.
Hello. Good evening, Michael. Good evening, Claire.
Hello, how are you?
Councillor Anthony Kelly, Wexford Sinn Féin here. How are you doing? How are you doing? Listen, first of all, can I just say it's so encouraging to see such a huge turnout tonight. I was at the meeting in Wexford the other night as well, and the same. It's a huge encouragement to people and to stand up together. I just want to clarify one thing with Claire. Sinn Féin is totally opposed to this charge. We might have a different way of approaching it, but I think it's important that we stay united together. The opposition is small enough in Dáil Éireann. So we will join. We have joined it. We have always been imposed to those unfair taxes. I've actually been involved in a huge scale of campaigns against unjust taxes. But just that we have a different approach to it. I don't believe, I know, in telling people not to pay. It's up to each individual to make that decision. That's an important decision to make. But it doesn't mean that I oppose the campaign. I wish it luck and I wish it all the success. But just before I finish, what the gentleman was saying there earlier is correct. With the money for the bailout, for the bank bailouts, the next huge bailout is on the 31st of March. The promissory note has to be paid of 1.3 billion, and that's what all these charges are about. That's where all the money is going. Minister Hogan is telling us that the £100 household charge is for your council services, your fire services, other things like that. But it's not. In actual fact, that same minister raided the local government funds and now seeking to recompensate them. So that's actually what's happening now at the moment. So I just thank you for your time, Claire and Nick. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Deirdre Wadding and I've come over from Kilran. I was at the meeting in Wexford the other night as well. I just wanted to pick Anthony up on just one thing, which is I personally, I'm not a councillor, I'm not a politician, I'm a mother in the home. And I've no problem telling people, don't pay, do not register, because as Claire says, solidarity, that is the only thing that is going to defeat this, that if we all stand together. And my method is to just try and dismantle fear. Like say if the kids are uptight or freaked out about something, you go, what is the worst thing that could happen? Alright, so in this case, for everybody, you decide, I'm not going to register. What is the worst thing that could happen? Okay, you don't register, they somehow manage through all this difficulty to find you. Then they'll serve you a fine. Then they'll have to process that, and maybe eventually they may get you to court. And maybe, just like there's the slightest tiny little chance, they might send you to jail. So what? Do you know? I mean, really, they're not going to send everyone. They can't. They probably won't even get to send one person. But I was very involved in the Theresa Tracy campaign. And if that woman, that very gentle, soft woman at the age of 65 can spend 24 days in there, I reckon I could do it too. The other thing I wonder about is, personally, I don't have the deeds of my house. I don't have the controlling share in the ownership of my house. It's the banks mostly and the financial institutions that actually own our houses still until our mortgages are all paid off. Let's lump it all back to them. So, thank you.